All right, everybody. So, there has been some big developments in the world of Twitter politics. You see, for the last couple years now, there's been this interesting feud that's taken place in the midst of Twitter's continued downfall into becoming a sort of 4chan, wannabe website, right? Now, these two individuals are basically opposites of each other. And I genuinely, when I first heard about these two individuals, was because of their beef, and I thought they were the same person, because I saw pictures of one person, and then I heard the name of the other person, and I didn't quite understand what was, going on, and so I was really confused when this all went down. But the actual story of it is that Chaya Raichik is a awful, awful woman who has very conservative-leaning values, who realized that under Elon Musk in particular, the wave of young, left-leaning, hormonal teenagers on TikTok posting cringe shit that they are not quite, old enough and mature enough to realize is cringe, is a perfect cesspool of cringe material to use as propaganda against the left. Zan be like, all white women look the same to me. I'm not even going to lie and say that's not true, Akira Tanaka. I'm sorry. Anyway, though, with that said, her method was essentially to farm TikTok, and usually young people on TikTok, or even some older people, too, that just post cringe on there, in order to suggest that cringe and people on the left being cringe, or people being part of the trans community or LGBT community being cringy. And that's how she started her posts, it was just, here are some TikTok people being cringy. They just oftentimes tended to be trans and LGBT and, left-leaning, right? But it wasn't, Nazi propaganda out of the gate. But very quickly, particularly after someone by the name of Taylor Lorenz, who works for, I think the New York Times or maybe Washington Post, I forget, big publication along those lines, was able to find libs of TikTok's info, including her full name. No longer, by this point, of course, libs of TikTok had become a enormously influential anti-woke account that even politicians in the Republican Party are referencing while suggesting bills that they want to pass. Taylor Lorenz decides this person who is literally affecting our legislature does not get to remain anonymous. That is not how politics works. And just straight up doxed libs of TikTok. Granted, the info was already public and findable, but I'm not going to draw the line at what is and isn't doxing in this context. What Taylor Lorenz did was doxing. And it was one of the very few cases where I think doxing is fine. When it comes to somebody literally influencing our elections and our, what bills get written and passed, I don't think that person should be able to remain anonymous. When someone is effectively a second, House member or senator or something, in terms of their influence, they shouldn't get to have complete anonymity while pulling the strings in American politics as clearly as she was. So I'm not one to endorse doxing. This is a rare case where I can't really bring myself to complain about it, it's a rare case. I can't really bring myself to complain about it. Regardless, though, they have had a back-and-forth Twitter war for years now at this point, with libs of TikTok obviously being the larger figure. And now, apparently, I don't know what led to this. I don't know why this was agreed to by libs of TikTok, aka Chaya Raichik, or Chaya Raichik. Sorry. I have no idea why she agreed to this, but nonetheless, she agreed to an interview, which was more like a debate. And based on the clips online and Chaya Raichik, aka Libs of TikTok's reaction on Twitter, Libs of TikTok got blown the fuck out. Badly. I am genuinely excited to see how this went. It is long as hell, so I don't know how much of this we're going to get to watch, but I hope we're able to condense the juiciest parts down into this review. I'm so excited to finally watch this. I've known about it for days. I have not watched it. I have resisted watching it. Now is the time. I'm not going to cover up Libs of TikTok, obviously. This is Libs of TikTok, obviously, wearing a shirt that seems to either have... Like I said, all white women look the same to me. It's either a shirt that has herself or Taylor Lorenz on it. I guess to, like... It's probably Taylor Lorenz, and it's meant to be, like, a troll or something. Like, oh, look, came to the interview with a shirt where it's you making a funny face. Sargon and Styx Hexenhammer stopped doing debates for a reason. When will they learn? That is true. Like, Sargon and Styx Hexenhammer made a collab video after they got blown the fuck out by Vosh back in the day saying, don't debate BreadTube, don't debate the online left. Like, as a PSA.
Alright, well,
let's watch.
Keep it short. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, the struggles of LA, I swear.
Keeping it short, 53 minutes. Oh boy.
Okay, well, now that we're going, so thank you so much for meeting. First of all, I saw Seth Dillon today saying that you guys are no longer affiliated.
I absolutely love that we're getting a dynamic that I don't feel like is common enough in this space. We're seeing two women debate. Like, seriously, for a second here, think about how often it is that, at least large public figures-wise, that you see two women on completely opposite side of things who hate each other, who have had deep drama, debate. I can't think of any. Maybe that's my misogynistic bias, but I haven't seen anything like this dynamic. So I'm ready to see it go down.
What happened with her? I know that he invested in you early, was a huge supporter of you.
Like, most of the people that Demon Mama debates are like
just
chuddy dudes.
For what reason?
Personal reasons.
Yeah. What, you didn't align with?
Totally amicable. I love Seth.
Yeah.
He's a great mentor.
So why wouldn't you want him involved, or why isn't he involved in the business anymore?
Just personal reasons. I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, okay. When did that sort of break off?
God, it's kind of quiet. Why is it so quiet on my end here?
Affiliated. What happened with her? I know that he invested in you early, was a huge supporter of you. What happened to that relationship?
Just parted ways.
For what reason?
Personal reasons.
Yeah. What, you didn't align with?
Totally amicable. I love Seth.
Yeah.
He's a great mentor.
So why wouldn't you want him involved, or why isn't he involved in the business anymore?
Just personal reasons. I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, okay. When did that sort of break off?
Recently.
Oh my god. Right out the gate. Okay, so Taylor Lorenz is like an expert on Chaya Raichik and like is kind of like a nonstop like hate poster of hers, which, you know what? The work has to be done. I respect it. So I love that this is literally just going to be like, okay, you're coming here to be a troll. I'm just going to be extremely passive aggressive to you like the entire time. This is the most bitchy debate I've ever seen. I love it.
Uh-huh. So how many staffers? Tell me a little bit more about your organization.
We are a small team, just a couple people.
And it's all distributed?
It's what?
It's all distributed, as in it's all remote, pretty much? Or do you guys have an office space?
It's remote, yeah.
Got it. So when did you start, I guess, what got you into all this? I've always wanted to ask you. I wrote about sort of the history of your Twitter account, but how did you get involved in politics?
If you watch any of my interviews, I talk about this all the time. But just, COVID radicalized me.
Yeah. In what way?
And they were like forcing us to wear masks and not letting us leave our homes.
Yeah.
And, not letting us work and people losing their jobs. And then people now forcing a vaccine, an experimental vaccine, people dying from the vaccine.
So how did that get you interested in...
The experimental vaccine, people dying from the vaccine. I don't know what else to say other than this woman is like, you know how Facebook back in the day was the central sort of hub for like boomer anti-vax flat earth types, like the conspiracy boomers. Like there was a time back when like the cursed Conspira Boomer Images account wasn't pulling tweets off of Twitter, it was pulling posts off of Facebook because that's what that kind of stuff was. Libs of TikTok is a Twitter version in a post-Elon Twitter of that sort of community personified, right? She has appealed to young people that want to cringe at like young LGBT people and lefties on TikTok. She's got appeal to boomers who want to fall for the fear-mongering about the conspiracy stuff, about the vaccine and, like, not being allowed to... No one was not allowed to work during COVID, as far as I remember. Like, I think there might have been, like, shutdowns in some cities, but as far as, like, federal... There was no federal call for people to not be allowed to work. like in cities they might have had curfews, but the curfews did not function like how they did in China, where you just get like arrested for being out after being late. Like the most overbearing law or regulation we had during COVID was that you had to wear a mask in some places, and that wasn't enforced strong enough, and now COVID is endemic. Remember, by the way, these people that are actively saying the vaccine is evil and killing people are the same ones saying that COVID caused ME/CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, is fake, and actively pushing for the banning of any research into ME/CFS, because the massive spike in its commonality after COVID became a thing is a big problem for the right in their mindset that like anybody could work hard enough and like have a successful life under capitalism, for one, because chronic fatigue syndrome literally just keeps you in bed all day, like you just can't do, like, you can't do anything. You can't like get up, you can't speak, you can't think, you can't see, you can't talk, you can't move. So like the right heavily wants to bank on saying these people are basically faking crybabies, and so they're pushing bans on ME/CFS research because it ties into COVID so strongly.
LGBTQ issues.
It got me interested in politics, and then once I was interested in politics, I stumbled upon this whole movement, and I was absolutely appalled.
So something that you'll notice, by the way, is that all of this is like bullshit. Like you can tell she's making up this story, and you're probably wondering like, why? Why is she making up this story? Like, what's the importance of making that up? And the thing is, Libs of TikTok's brand is that she got pushed into being who she is by the craziness of the left. That she was just a normal, average person who was radicalized away into becoming Libs of TikTok by the craziness of the left. When in reality, it is very obvious that she is both A, someone who has always been conservative, and B, someone who has pursued this as a career and is just like a professional Karen, and has basically branded herself as just some normal woman who has been forced to become a social media celebrity to call out this craziness taking over our world.
By what I was saying.
That's her brand.
The radicalization of it, the way that they come after our most innocent and vulnerable population, or kids.
She can't keep eye contact. Oh my god. Oh my god, she can't keep eye contact. She, like, while speaking to her, she's like, you know, about our most vulnerable population. She has no confidence. Have you noticed that? There's not an ounce of confidence here, because without millions of people following her on Twitter, mostly bots, liking and ratioing everybody that she argues with, she falls apart. Without an army of internet trolls to like boost her engagement and ratio anyone she argues with so it looks like their arguments don't matter, because that really is how it feels when you go on Twitter, right? Like even when it's an argument you agree with, or even on YouTube, when you go down like the comments of a video and you see someone make like a good argument that you agree with, but then there's a reply debunking it with more likes, and then like the person replies and they have like a back and forth, but every time the correct person is getting ratioed by the wrong person, like you can just tell the fact that the person who is right is getting ratioed is going to cause the ratio to continue to grow, which will feed into this mindset of obviously the person with the most likes is the correct one, you know? And so without that sort of psychological boost on her side, I can tell she has absolutely no confidence and she's just falling apart. She's crumbling.
The way that it makes, there's nothing logical about it. There's nothing logical about topping off kids' body parts. There's nothing logical about giving kids porn in school. There's two sexes.
I feel I should respond to some of these things. So I guess point number one, absolutely none of these procedures or surgeries can be described as lobbing off or chopping off people's body parts. Like these are medical surgeries. It's no more chopping off someone's penis or chopping off someone's breasts than it is like slicing someone open, ripping their heart out, and then shoving a new heart in and then slamming their shit shut. Like you could describe any procedure that way if you want to. But you know what I will say? I don't take this argument seriously from any conservative who isn't also militantly against circumcision being legal. I'm against circumcision being legal. I don't, well, unless you're an adult. I don't believe it should be legal to circumcise your baby. I'm not circumcised, and proudly so. I don't believe it should be legal to do so. I have met too many guys who are circumcised, and they're like, yeah, man, when I jack off, I've got to use lotion because, like the sensitivity kind of gets rubbed away. And I'm like, what? Oh my God, that's fucking horrifying. And then, like, the most common responses whenever somebody says circumcision should be, like, banned for babies are unironically women who say, no, I'm grossed out by uncircumcised dicks. And it's like, oh my God, did you really just say that? Did you really just say... I know, like, the what if a guy said that thing is, like, a meme, but, like, could you imagine if there was, like, millions of guys saying, no, female genital mutilation, which is, you know, what we call female circumcision, should be legal because I don't like the way vaginas look. We should female circumcise babies because I don't like the way uncircumcised vaginas look. Could you imagine that line of logic coming from a man? That is absolutely insane. We should not have circumcision for babies be legal. Absolutely, it shouldn't be legal. That is an area where my mom was absolutely based. They were like, do you want him circumcised? And she was like, no, you're not taking a knife to my baby's dick. No, give my baby back. And yeah. The implication, the self-report. No, I have seen this debate happen primarily between guys, to be fair. Now, to be fair, I have seen more guys argue that girls like circumcised dicks more than I've seen girls argue it, but I've still seen lots of girls argue it, particularly on Twitter pre-Elon, back when, like, half of Twitter was just dominated by, like, you know, the woke annoying accounts, you know, the ones, the really bitchy mean girl accounts. You know what I'm talking about. I've heard women say it. Yeah, I mean, it's not super common because, to be honest, most women don't care. But the fact that it is normalized that women can say that and it's not seen as the same as when men would have said the same thing about women is interesting to me. And honestly, I feel like the right would have more ground to stand on to criticize, like, feminism, quote unquote. It wouldn't actually be a valid argument, but from their perspective, it would be if they talked about the double standard between how we really would never accept or, like, you know, allow female circumcision, which we call genital mutilation, and yet it is like a common and almost like expected practice for boys in America, at least. And it's not a thing outside of America, by the way. Like, I don't know if you guys are, like, non-Americans, but, like, in America, it's extremely common, and apparently outside of America, it's really rare. So, you know. Fuck, if you are giving it to me, at least let me pick the scar. I do not know what that reference is. I'm just glad that no one ever took a knife to my dick. The fact that parents allow that is insane. And it's, like, normalized. And yet, at the same time, surgical procedures on, like, consenting adults are a problem to these people. Because remember, Libs of TikTok doesn't actually have a problem. Like, her problem isn't actually with this made-up scenario of, like, millions of kids getting bottom surgery. It's not a thing that's happening. What she actually wants to ban is, A, she started moving on to adults up to age 25 need to not be, or up to 30, sorry, need to be banned from any form of gender transitioning care. And B, she wants to ban all of the things that she claimed before she didn't really take as much of an issue with. The goalpost always moves. First, it's like, oh, I only have a problem with them lobbing kids' dicks off or whatever. And then you say, well, that's not what they're doing. They're actually prescribing hormone blockers. And they're like, well, the hormone blockers sterilize them. It's like, well, no, the hormone blockers don't sterilize them. They're actually like a stopgap to sort of delay puberty so that there is a, you know, window of time for the kid to have potentially, like, maybe there is a chance the kid's not trans. And that sort of gives them, a barrier of time to figure that out potentially, while also not losing progress on a potential future transition without the drawback of it harming the future puberty that can happen if just taking off the hormone blockers. Like, the goalpost will always move. At the end of the day, they just want to, as Libs of TikTok has been, literally, Libs of TikTok since this happened has been tweeting pictures of trans kids with the text "eradicate transgenderism" stamped on top of it. She's been doing this for days now. So the goalpost will always move, and eventually it's just going to get to genocide. Like, they just are going to want to execute the trans people that disgust them.
And that's it. So, anything out of that, it's just based on lies and nonsense.
Yeah. Did you grow up, I know you grew up in a sort of a more conservative community. Did you know any LGBTQ people growing up? What was your exposure to that community just in life prior to sort of understanding the world through politics?
I never really paid attention to it.
So you didn't have any LGBTQ friends or anything,
No.
family members?
No.
So your first
Okay. Well, that's an interesting admission.
exposure to the LGBTQ world was through basically learning about it through the media ecosystem.
Through themselves.
30? No, Libs of TikTok has literally been advocating for, like, gender transitioning care to be banned for anyone under the age of 30. Like, they will continue to move the age up until it is trans people are not allowed anymore. It was never about kids. Kids were just the on-ramp because everybody wants to save kids. Everyone wants to protect kids. So if you moralize and say kids are in danger, if you say think of the children, then you get them on board, and then you just got to keep pulling them gently, little by little, over to being in favor of, like, banning people under 30 from transitioning. And eventually it'll be like full bans of any presentation as being trans, and potentially, God forbid, if Trump becomes elected, we could see criminalization of being trans with lethal penalties.
Actually, they would say exactly what their intentions are, what their whole movement is about. So I learned about it through watching their own videos.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What sort of videos were you watching? I mean, are you just talking about the TikToks that you share and stuff?
I intend more on TikTok. It's all over TikTok.
Yeah.
Very easy to find.
Yeah.
This is like the 2024 version of when Lorenz said to Destiny that anecdote is the data is the plural of anecdote. This is the 2024 version of that Lorenz Southern quote.
I'm curious, I feel like there's been, especially on, my colleagues have done great reporting on sort of like this.
Nothing's changed. Just like during the Gamergate era, when you confront these people on why they are fighting this moral crusade against the woke SJWs or whatever, they literally always fall down to, I think there's a problem in our society. Where are you getting that info from? I see a lot of videos. Wait, so you don't have any data? Like no data or anything, no graphs or anything to suggest that, like, society is falling, just like you watch a lot of TikTok videos and they make you cringe? Like that's it? And once you get them to that point where you just kind of expose them for the fact that their politics are based on viral videos they've seen, they look pretty dumb to most onlookers. Not every onlooker, but to most, I think.
Rift on Twitter. I know that you have a very conservative fan base, and in your comments sometimes you'll see a lot of commentary about sort of the Great Replacement theory. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh boy.
What are your thoughts on the comments on your post telling me to kill myself?
Horrible. Yeah, horrible. Obviously against that. Yeah.
So will you come out and condemn that publicly?
Oh, I would condemn it anytime. I'm against murdering anyone, of course.
So you're against death threats against me?
I would.
So she tries to dodge the question and says, how do you feel about people commenting on your tweet that I should kill myself? And she's like, no, that's bad. I'm not in favor of that. And now she's just gonna be like, but answer the question though.
I'm a big, as somebody that's dealt with a lot of online harassment, I don't defend threatening to murder anyone. But I guess I'm curious,
Because a lot of times it comes after an attack in the media, like someone like you or another journalist.
So are you saying that, like, if somebody posts something and then attacks follow, that person should answer for those attacks?
No, that's not what I'm...
Oh, Taylor Lorenz has her by the lady balls. She just got her by the lady balls. Oh no. Oh no, the walking it back. So if you post something and it leads to harassment, you think that's... because that's literally Libs of TikTok's whole thing, inspiring terror attacks.
I'm saying that they people like you tell me that all the time, so I'm just asking if you think the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think I have said that here, but I I think it's kind of interesting, I guess, in the conservative movement, there's this ideology around sort of white nationalism, which is obviously kind of a hardline ideology that's generally been pretty critical of Jewish communities. And I'm wondering.
I like how Taylor Lorenz is doing what I recommend that you guys do, and it's arguing like meta, debating meta, like break out of the level of not talking about the real problems that these people will try to get you into, and just like don't even ask, are you a white nationalist? Ask, so a lot of people in your space, and part of a big part of conservatism is white nationalism, the belief that, and then listing a bunch of things that she has said, and then force her to either defend it or walk it back. Walking it back makes it look like she's a coward or a traitor to like many of her followers, and not being able to defend it makes her look weak, and the position look weak to people who are still in the middle and are falling for the propaganda.
As a Jewish woman, how do you feel about sort of aligning yourself with those people and accounts? You see this sort of rhetoric in your replies. I only bring it up. I'm not saying that you necessarily endorse that rhetoric. I would imagine that you don't. But how do you kind of think about those nuances when you're thinking about kind of the audience that you're building?
Some of your audience says we should chop off kids' body parts. What do you think about that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. For one, obviously, an extremely weak and dishonest debate strategy is someone asks you a question and then deflect with another question unrelated. It's literally like the Ron Swanson thing, where Ron Swanson, like, I don't know if you've seen Parks and Rec, but there's an episode where Ron Swanson says, I hate government meetings, so whenever I go to them, I always respond with a question that's somewhat passive-aggressive, no matter what the question I'm asked is, and I say nothing. Like, she's basically trying to pull that. Like, no matter what question she's asked, she doesn't answer a question, but just responds with a question passive-aggressively. But she's not doing it well, because she keeps getting tricked into responding to some of the questions.
Like a girl.
So the way it looks is, that question about aligning with Nazis as a Jewish woman, and her, like, deflecting on that one, makes it look like she's weak on that point, rather than she's just going to deflect every question like a troll. It just makes her look like she was too scared to answer that.
Girl says she wants to be a boy, so she tops off her breasts.
I'm a big, I believe in personal liberty and bodily autonomy personally.
So kids should be able to.
I love liberty. I love democracy.
I mean, I believe in gender ideology. I guess I personally, my feeling is that I believe in personal liberty. I grew up in a town where a lot of people, for their middle school graduation, women got nose jobs. I knew somebody that got a boob job at age 14.
I wouldn't argue with them on this point. I would just say, I just agree with what the scientific consensus is right now. Right now, it seems to be that sex and gender are not the same thing, that sex is not a binary, but instead a spectrum, and that being trans is a valid thing, and that gender transitioning care is valid. It's why it's legal in so many states, and why it's taken so much Republican overreach, in large part with your help, in order to ban it in hard red states with a nonpartisan push, or a partisan push, and yet overwhelmingly scientific institutions across the board are calling this out as anti-scientific, including Florida's. I'm literally debating for her right now, but I mean, like, I feel like you just say, I believe in what the science says. How do you feel about Ron DeSantis banning the teaching of AP psychology in Florida because it doesn't align with the anti-trans ideology he wants? How do you feel about science classes being banned because the science doesn't agree with you politically? Basically, respond with play her game back. That's what I'd do.
And I guess I struggle to kind of understand the criticism when there's certainly no criticism of that sort of thing, right? But then there's criticism of this other sort of gender-affirming, stuff. So
you're comparing a boy being allowed to chop off his penis to a teen.
This isn't happening, by the way. Like, I think the most similar scenario where this could happen is potentially if you are 16 years old or 17 and you have A, got parental consent, B, have had a very long, like over a decade of psychological oversight by multiple medical professionals. I believe it takes a written doctor's note by 3 confirming gender dysphoria. At that point, you can get on hormone blockers. But as for getting bottom surgery, it's so not common. Like, I know that famously, What I did not know a lot of trans people prior to becoming like a lefty YouTuber, but I met a few shortly before. And it was a big part of like my sort of like evolution into becoming a lot more knowledgeable about this stuff, is just meeting trans people and like becoming friends with them and learning about their experience. It's kind of where I learned a lot of the fundamental things I knew about trans stuff when debating people, was just meeting trans people, learning about what their lives were like by being friends with them, and using that knowledge to debate. But since then, I've filled my brain with a lot more academic and scientific and psychological research knowledge, and I feel like that's very handy. The problem is, like I said, Taylor is good at it like 50% of the time in this debate, but you have to argue meta. You have to recognize that she is not honest. If she's going to be dishonest, be more dishonest than her, not on the topics, but in the debate style. Every single move needs to be with the goal of demoralizing and taking the words out of Libs of TikTok's mouth.
Teenage girl getting a nose job?
Well, just to be extra clear, I don't believe that 13-year-olds are able to make those sort of medical decisions.
That's absolutely true.
Minors are, yeah.
Oh, really? And where?
Children's.
So she said 13-year-olds, and then she said 13-year-olds aren't able to make those decisions, and she said minors, yeah. Okay. Minors is anyone under 18. Do you think a 17-year-old getting gender transitioning care is the same as a 13-year-old doing it? I'd say those are very different.
National Hospital in D.C. gives 16-year-olds hysterectomies.
Oh, 16-year-olds.
They gave me that. They told me that directly. They said 16 girls and younger. That's what they said. So.
Reminder, by the way, I have a friend who has uterine cancer. Like there's like a cancerous growth in her uterus. And due to the laws being passed in red states, she is having a really hard time finding a way to get that dealt with, due to the fact that legally, due to the fact that the procedure would have to render her reproductive system no longer functional, legally it is considered an abortion. And so doctors have said that up until she is literally dying of septic shock, she cannot be operated on to get the tumor or cancerous growth out. So we're talking about the potential for 16-year-old girls who have, like, obviously that's not the case for my friend, but she's referring to 16-year-old girls getting hysterectomies. And that is legally what the procedure my friend needs is considered. There's no law that says 16-year-olds aren't allowed to get fucking cancer. So if a 16-year-old girl gets some sort of uterine polyp or cancer or something awful with her reproductive system that requires a surgery that would render it no longer functional, in that case, Libs of TikTok's overwhelmingly no exceptions policy that she suggests, because this is overwhelmingly wrong no matter what, even if it's helping somebody, would ban that, as it already has been in many places. Oh yeah, of course, this is also a big problem with ectopic pregnancies as well. The problem is the female reproductive system is basically a death trap, and it's like a ticking time bomb of disasters. So the fact is that conservatives pushing for these laws that effectively make life-saving care that involves like the reproductive system illegal is basically just writing bills that will guarantee the deaths of millions of women. Just guaranteed. By the way, if you want to fight against this, please sign up with Progressive Victory. My link is down below in the description. Seriously, Progressive Victory, they're fighting against the Republicans in all of the big battleground states. It's going to be extra important with the election. Please go sign up with Progressive Victory. If you care about protecting your rights as much as these people want to destroy them, then you'll sign up. You don't even have to go out in person to do anything. If you want to stay home all day and still help, you can phone bank, all right? Seriously, get involved. Real politics is calling you. You have to protect liberty and democracy. The Republicans and Trump want to destroy democracy. We're like the hell divers. We have to fight to defend democracy, guys. We have to fight to defend America's liberty. All right? Join Progressive Victory and become a hell diver today.
So hysterectomies, there are definitely minors. I know for sure, I think it's 12 who are getting double mastectomies.
Anti-democracy Republicans.
They definitely allow vaginoplasties for minors and phalloplasties I'm not aware of a specific case of a minor, but they allow 18-year-olds.
Yeah, which
I'm not aware of a specific case for a minor, but they allow 18-year-olds. Notice how she couldn't, while lying about this shit, she couldn't even keep it from slipping that she also takes issue with adults getting these procedures and thinks it should also be illegal. Because remember, the kids' point is just their, like, strong onboarding argument. Everyone wants to protect kids. Trick people into thinking kids are in danger, and you can get them to fight for any cause you can imagine. People are that impressionable. There's a reason why the meme from The Simpsons, oh, think of the children, made fun of that mindset and that ideology and thought process 40 years ago.
Okay, 18-year-olds, you're an
It's nothing new.
adult. But let's just get back to the Great Replacement stuff, because I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that whole ideology?
I mean, how many? There were times.
Oh, man. Is she going to say, yeah, I believe in the Great Replacement and just out herself as a white nationalist fully, like undisputedly? Or is she going to denounce the Great Replacement and like, disown a bunch of her fans? Or is she just going to stumble and then ask, like, another question? What do you think it's going to be, A, B, or C? Is she just going to stumble and then ask another question? Or do you think she's going to ostracize her fans or try to defend the Great Replacement? Wait, she's Jewish, right? She claims to be Jewish. There's no mathematical way to determine whether or not she's Jewish, but she says she is, so. However much you trust her.
That there were some months over the past 3 years that there were more illegals coming into our border than children being born in the U.S. Does that not look like they're trying to replace us?
I guess...
Damn! Not even the... Does that not look like they are replacing us? But does that not look like they are trying to replace us? Outright ascribing malice to immigration. Damn. The funny thing as well is the majority of illegal immigration is people overstaying work visas, and the majority of work visas are not immigrants coming from south of the border.
Sort of
They're
imagine
bringing in
America
a whole new
as
population.
a melting pot. Isn't that sort of what America was founded
No, but
on?
they're actually bringing in more people than are actually being born.
So I guess it sounds like you sort of do ascribe to this theory of the Great Replacement. How does that make
I just
you
look at the
feel?
facts and the numbers.
Well, so, I mean, just let's give a corollary, right? A lot of Jewish people fled, Europe, came over here also as immigrants. And there's a lot of criticism towards Jewish people in those movements, in those far-right movements. So I'm just wondering, as a Jewish woman, sort of how you feel about that and your role in cultivating this fan base that might think of you as a minority, an outsider.
Not all cultures are equal. Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of concerns about education.
My culture coming to America was okay via immigration because it's better than other cultures immigrating. I guess, like, good on Taylor Lorenz for just getting her to, like, be racist in public. I like that it's in public, too, because everyone's just going to hear this woman go on about, like, chopping kids' dicks off. And, like, Taylor Lorenz doesn't say any of that stuff. She just asks, like, very basic questions. So it's just libs of TikTok projecting her voice, saying this weird conspiracy nonsense about vaccines killing you and, like, chopping kids' genitals off in the middle of a public square, literally in the public square. While, like, even to ongoing, like, people walking by. Notice the people walking by that are looking don't look at Taylor. They're looking at libs of TikTok because she's weird looking. Like, she's wearing, like, a hot pink shirt with a weird, like sweater with a weird shirt on with someone else's face on it. And she's saying weird stuff that's like conspiracy nonsense. So she's both humiliating herself to the internet and to the public. It's hilarious.
Educational materials and books, library books and things, especially...
They're importing people who want to destroy America. And who come here and do not stand for what America stands.
My favorite thing about, like, when white nationalists talk about immigration is they like to use the term importing and exporting, which is a term used for cargo, objects, like property. They can't talk about the movement of immigrants in a way that does not indicate that they view said immigrants as either A, tools of the state that they are coming from to, like, destabilize America or whatever, insane, or B, less than human. Like, they dehumanize them into property when describing their travel.
stands for. So, and I think, and we see it, there's time after time after time after time. They come in, they're destroying our cities, they bring crime with them, and they are bringing them in to replace us. And, yeah.
They, who's they? Ask who's they.
I think people from various countries, you know, they're all different.
So, you know, just back to the sort of education stuff, I know that you're interested in removing a bunch of books from libraries that you consider inappropriate. I was just wondering, out of all the books that you've sort of tried to get removed, how many have you read?
I've read a couple of them.
Which ones?
Genderqueer. I've read This Book is Gay. I've read Flamer. I've read, what were some of the other ones? My Shadow is Pink. It Feels Good to Be Yourself. There's so many more. Tons of them.
How do you kind of square, would you say, I feel like you are, or at least I feel like you've spoken about free speech before and the need for free speech and sort of supported Elon Musk's sentiments in that area. Would you say that you're a free speech supporter?
Yeah.
So how do you square the sort of being this free speech supporter with wanting to ban literature?
What kind of literature?
Any kind of literature. I mean, I would think that
what kind of literature am I trying to ban?
Oh, I thought you were just trying to say you've made an effort to get books removed from schools.
What kind of books?
Books dealing with LGBTQ people and sexual
education.
education.
Not what I said.
Oh, so you're not trying to get any books banned from school?
That's not what I said either.
Okay, why don't you explain to me how you're thinking about this?
You just accused me of wanting to ban books. What kind of books am I trying to ban?
You tell me.
This is one of my favorite strategies of the conservative demagogue. They know they're hypocritical. You can't make that a point of debate whether or not they are hypocritical. You can only, like I said, argue with them on a meta level. Argue why are they hypocritical, not why are you, ask why are you so hypocritical on this topic? You love free speech, and yet you also want to ban these books. No, I don't. No, don't run away from from your point. You don't want your fans to get mad at you for disowning your positions. Come on, stick to what you believe in. You want these books banned. You believe they're pornography. You mentioned them earlier in our conversation, saying you want the pornography removed from schools. But what you think of as pornography, the things you listed here, are literally just LGBT coming-of-age books. Many of the books they're pushing to ban are literally not even mentioning of LGBT people, and it's like if there is a scene in which like a character mentions a sex act, they want the book banned. So like you're in high school, and there's like it was pretty much the Catcher in the Rye thing. Like, oh, the characters say fuck and they mention blowjobs or whatever. We need this banned. This pornographic material needs to be banned. High schoolers can't handle this. It's literally just that. But remember, when it's inconvenient to be called hypocritical, they'll just pretend like they never did a thing that their entire brand was based on, and then put you on the spot and say, when did I say that? What books do I want to ban? When like every other tweet is about how it is bad that a book is available in a school, and all the comments are about how it should be banned, and then laws have been inspired banning those books with you being cited as the inspiration. Like, it's just dishonest. Don't let them play the dishonest game and get you into a trap.
I'm not trying to ban anything.
But you're not trying to ban any books?
Who said I'm trying to ban books?
Are you trying to remove books from libraries?
From public school libraries.
Okay. So how do you
banned.
square your sort of notion of free speech and free expression and allowing all of that stuff with wanting literature removed and wanting access to information removed?
What kind of literature?
You tell me.
Porn. Gay porn.
Yeah. And what do you consider
Gay
gay
porn.
porn in these books?
So you want to see it?
Are you talking about the stuff that you've tweeted, basically?
You want to
you can
Someone clip that. Someone clip that. Someone clip that, please. Please, please. That is the that was amazing. That her moving to get her phone and she says, "Do you want to see it?" in reference to the gay porn. Holy shit. Oh my god, that goes so hard. Someone's got to clip that.
removed and wanting access to information removed.
What kind of literature?
You tell me.
Porn. Gay porn. Yeah.
And what do you consider gay porn in these books?
So you want to see it?
Are you talking about
That is the best that is amazing. That is the best response ever. You want to see it. And then reaching for her phone. Oh my god. That goes crazy.
the stuff that you've tweeted, basically? You consider
Yeah,
it
like there's
inappropriate.
pictures of like blowjobs and like how to have gay sex with like naked people and
Yeah,
people
gay porn's the
masturbating
only
and stuff, yeah.
porn she wants
Did you-
banned.
Like pictures of it.
Oh,
yeah.
totally. And
Yeah.
I went to public school.
There are pictures of sex acts in books available in libraries and schools, is what she is arguing. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that realistically what actually happened was like, okay, so do you guys know how school libraries are filled? A lot of the time, there'll be like book donations, there'll be book fairs that are paid for to just buy like a bunch of the best-selling books on New York Times for the year and just fill them up in the library. They're screened for sure, but there is a level of mistakes that get made. I remember that famously, a very, very sussy hentai novel. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's the one that has like the 3,000-year-old dragon lolly in it, was literally available on the shelves of a library in a school, a public school. Like, this is a big drama, like, back in 2020 or something like that. It's called Dragon Maid. Okay. It was available on the shelves, like one copy at least, was available on the shelves of a public school library. And it was a big deal. People freaked out about it. And I feel like there's always been this level of like, okay, some things are going to slip by, especially in high school. So there's always the potential for that, especially when we're talking about millions of schools across the entire country. If you are a bad actor like Libs of TikTok and you want to surgically target specific stories to create a narrative while ignoring like data and trends and actual like, you know, reality, then you're able to do that quite easily. Now more so than ever. And, you know, Libs of TikTok is going to enter a whole new echelon of content once AI video gets to be indistinguishable from real video. Every other post from Libs of TikTok is going to be an AI-generated video of, like, kids in wearing nothing walking down the street at a pride parade. Like, every other post on conservative Twitter is going to be borderline child porn of kids at pride parades that they generated and, like, make go viral. For this, like, it doesn't matter if it gets anything done for them. It just has to go viral and, you know, sort of rouse more hate. You know that's what's going to happen with those AI videos. Elon's not going to ban it, no matter how sussy and explicit it is. Elon's not going to fight against it or ban it or speak out against it. He is going to boost it, if anything. It is going to explode on Twitter in like a few months when that Sora AI, I think it's called, ends up being like broadly available to anyone just to generate a meme video. People are going to generate so much political propaganda. I mean, right now they're using videos from Arma. You guys have seen it, right? I've covered it a couple times on stream, but conservative like or in pro-Russia accounts post videos of like jets getting shot down in Arma 3. But, like, they make sure it's nighttime footage, so it's, like, fairly hard to tell for someone who doesn't recognize video game footage like that. And, you know, it's a pretty realistic war game, so people don't expect that to be from a video game when looking at a tiny little video. And so they've been using Arma footage for a while to fake stories like diversity, equity, inclusion, pilots crashing planes. Like, quite a few of those going viral have just been Arma 3 videos. A lot of Ukrainian jets and ships getting sunk by, you know, brave Russian fighters, all just Arma footage. And, like, yeah, it's really... Once these people don't have to use video games for their misinformation and they can, like, generate at the click of a button indistinguishable from real footage, like misinfo, we're going to be in for interesting times.
And we had a sex ed class in public school where we were shown, you know, information about sexual health and, you know, sex and masturbation and things like that. I'm curious about your own education. I mean, was that something did you ever...
Mind you, the thing they're actually fighting against, by the way, because if you actually push back on any of these topics, like every other one of them, she will eventually fall apart because none of these things that she said to start her argument of, I just want gay porn banned from schools. There is no gay porn in schools. It's not, kids aren't allowed to read gay porn in schools. I've been to school. I know it's allowed. It's not. It certainly is not allowed in schools. You are insane if you think that's the case. It's a big reason why I think a lot of, like, younger people don't fall for this as much is because they know what is going on in their schools and they know that, like, kids aren't being, like, turned into trans people by, like, gayification classes or whatever. It's like this propaganda just sounds like boomer hysteria to them. And so that's why a lot of Gen Z outside of, like, the Andrew Tate watching dudes are much more progressive. And on top of that, Gen Z has reversed the trend of the getting more conservative as you age. every generation, even though it tends to be more progressive than the last, a small percentage of that generation tends to get more conservative as they get older. Gen Z, so far, has bucked that trend. Gen Z is getting more progressive as they get older, not less. More politically knowledgeable and caring about politics more as they get older, not less, like previous generations. It's the polar opposite.
Go to a sex ed class, or is this all sort of new to you, where you're sort of learning about how this works in public schools?
I don't live under a rock.
So you did have sex ed classes when you were growing up?
We had some kind of education, yeah.
So you do think it's important for children to have education, sex education?
Not the way they're doing it in public schools.
How are they doing it?
They're giving kids porn and telling third graders that they should masturbate. They're giving...
So that is definitely not the case. What I will tell you is the case is that overwhelmingly the vast majority of criminologists, like legal professionals, doctors, scientists, everything across the board have definitively proven with data that the rate of unreported child sexual abuse drops when you introduce child sex education at a young age. Teach them what their body parts are, that adults aren't to touch them there, and that if someone does, to go to an adult and tell someone, or go to the police. So many child abusers tell their abuse victim, you're going to be in so much trouble if you tell anybody. And they believe it because they don't know that what's happened to them is wrong. And an adult, usually, child sex abusers are adults, usually they believe an adult authority figure and they keep the abuser's secret. It happens all the fucking time. But if you give them proper education, hell, you might be able to prevent it in the first place a lot more often. But at the very least, when it does happen, these kids are going to know to go to an adult and what to do, and that what happened to them was not okay, not normal, and that it was a sexual thing, which is not okay to happen to them without their consent. Teaching consent is important, both between kids, because yes, consent is important to learn at a young age, just as a fundamental property of existing, even if it's like, hey, can I give you a hug? No, I don't want a hug right now. Don't touch me. Okay, I understand your boundaries. Like, it doesn't have to be sexual consent, just like understand people's boundaries. Teaching that is important. And then obviously as you get older, you're going to need to know what masturbation is. You're going to need to know what protection is. You're going to need to know some of the nitty gritty aspects of sex ed. It's why it's always been a meme that when it comes to middle and high school sex education, all the guys are just sitting there just going hold on. Hold on. Let me show you this child grooming that happened back in the fucking 90s or whatever. I really hope I can show this scene without getting copyrighted. Please. It's only 29 seconds.
We're gonna be
please.
Talking about the
Please let me get away with it. Okay. Look.
We're going to be talking about the penis.
Look at this grooming.
We'll be talking about the vagina. Do you think that's funny, butthead? Do you find it amusing that we'll be talking about the testicles? Yes, we're also going to be talking about venereal disease, sexual intercourse, the scrotum, the clitoris, and we will definitely be spending a lot of time talking about masturbation.
Look at that grooming, guys. Grooming. Look, they've been grooming the kids for years by educating them about sex so they don't literally know nothing when they're adults.
Middle school children guides to gay sex and anal sex, sex toys.
How would you describe the type of sex education that you would like to see in schools?
At this point, I want all sex education actually removed from schools because I don't trust the schools to do it.
Okay.
After what we've seen, I don't trust them at all. Zero. We need to completely eradicate it and then redo it in a normal way that's appropriate.
So I saw you said that you got banned from Stripe today. How much money did you have tied up in that platform?
Oh, yes. Oh, this was she basically got her fucking funds frozen just that day. So this is her coming off of she's stressed already about the fact that her finances have just been frozen because that's what Stripe is what Twitter works with for payouts, and her job is to post on Twitter. Really, Elon Musk pays these people to post conservative propaganda on Twitter for boosted engagement on the website for keeping it relevant and getting people back on it. It's really funny. So Yeah, that's an armor piercer. Let's rewind it. Let's rewind that armor piercer. Let's hear it all.
In a normal way that's appropriate.
So I saw you said that you got banned from Stripe today. How much money did you have tied up in that platform?
I'm not going to get into that. They already restored me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're back.
Yeah.
They didn't.
I noticed,
They didn't.
I think it was around
Guys, she's completely lying. Literally the next day, she was literally melting down on Twitter, arguing with Stripe's customer service about how they hadn't reinstated her and trying to get her reinstated. She started a whole hellstorm the next day with Stripe's customer service on Twitter. She's lying right now. She's literally just like so upset about it that she tries to change the subject by lying. That's crazy. The code.
last summer, you deleted a lot of your tweets and you stopped posting. This is when Seth Dillon kind of tweeted, asking if you fell off or, saying that you weren't posting as you used to. What happened during that time, and did you think about quitting?
I have no idea, and no, I never thought about quitting.
Why'd you delete all your old posts?
It was just a one-time editorial decision. I stand by all my posts.
Yeah? Why did you delete them?
I guess speaking of deleting posts, you still have a post up accusing the Uvalde shooter of being trans. Obviously, that's been debunked.
Yeah, there's a community note on it.
So why not remove that post if you're so comfortable with removing posts?
Because there's a community note. I think it's clear. It's obviously it was unintentional. There was a watermark on it. It was from a meme, an account that was going around, and.
Ask her about the cat litter boxes in the kids' bathrooms next. Because, you have to remember, every insane conspiracy the right blew up over the last couple years has come from Libs of TikTok. The long-since debunked litter box thing came from Libs of TikTok. She popularized that. The conspiracy stuff about vaccines turning your blood black ooze, your blood into black ooze from taking the vaccine. She started that conspiracy. The idea that people are dying suddenly from the vaccine. She started the phrase "died suddenly" as a meme, referring to people dying of anything and saying, "Oh, it was the vaccine." They say, "Oh, died suddenly. It must be the vaccine." And then that became their documentary name when they made the anti-vax documentary. She started so much of these things. She just posts a crazy conspiracy. People run with it. It hits the Fox News. Laws are passed based on in red states based on her tweets. And she's like, well, they put a community note on it correcting my misinfo, so no harm, no foul.
I'm glad there's a community note so people know that.
Do you believe if, say, a journalist posts something factually incorrect or wrong, especially about someone else, if somebody was to say something factually wrong about you, do you believe they should remove that, or do you think they should be able to keep that content up?
Twitter is free speech.
Remember, guys, you're never going to see it. She doesn't even call it X. That's great. There's going to be a day when, she gets sued the same way Alex Jones did, and she does not have the know-how, the money, or the resources to, not be destroyed by it a million times worse than Alex Jones will. She is going to get the Alex Jones treatment, and it is going to ruin her. Her Twitter account is the biggest flash in the pan you can imagine. Libs of TikTok is not going to be relevant in a few years. I swear to God, she will not be. This is not a person, fundamentally, who has staying power in the political space. Trust me, I've watched this shit happen for a long time, since the inception of the Gamergate era. Libs of TikTok does not have what it takes to stick around. She doesn't even have the same amount of charisma and rhetorical skill as Sargon of Akkad. She will be a nobody, obscure nothing in 3 years. Max. These people never last. They are candles burning at both ends.
People lie about me all the time on there, and they don't get taken down. If you want, it has to go both ways.
So you believe that people should be allowed to keep up wrong information about you and have no recourse, be able to keep that up?
Free speech is free speech.
Okay, so I'm kind of curious
Cool.
how you square that with the letter that you sent this morning to vSphere, claiming that, you were going to try to sue her for slander. If free speech is free speech, then why are you threatening your critics with lawsuits?
Well, defamation is different.
So would you call misidentifying a shooter's sexuality defamation?
No, I wouldn't. Like I said, there's already a community note on it, so I'm glad that people now.
And you admit
know.
that it's wrong, right? Was the Uvalde
Yeah,
shooter
and I
trans?
wasn't the creator of that image.
Sure, but you can imagine if somebody amplified wrong information.
The media, like Washington Post and other places, they lie all the time. They're never held accountable. They never remove it. They lie and lie and lie. So.
This is not even close to true. There are watchdog groups and nonprofits that actually track the reporting reliability of different journalistic outlets, as well as who they're being funded by. Many of them, surprisingly, even NPR, are being funded a shit ton by big oil, by the way. Like a lot of NPR's funding is big oil. I'm not even joking. Like, NPR is like 70% big oil funding. So that's something to consider. Fuck. But then also, these watchdog groups and nonprofits literally track the reliability and truthful reporting of all these different organizations and news outlets, and then they will rate the truthful reporting as well as the bias. There are tons of sites like this and tons of different organizations that do this, and they will also track how often these organizations recant their positions. New York Times and Washington Post are some of the most frequently recanting of their wrong. Every single news organization, period, gets stuff wrong. That is the nature of the job. There's just no way to avoid it. The right just lies and has the highest rate of false reporting there is, like unanimously. For example, like there were lots of groups that would fact check Donald Trump live during the presidential debates, and Donald Trump would tell roughly 153 lies per 10 minutes or something like that. Like there was literally a stat, like you can Google it, Donald Trump lie stat. Like, it wasn't like a matter of opinion or subjectivity. Like, Donald Trump would have his lies counted per debate, and they would count up how many lies he told in the debate compared to his competitors. And, like, there'd be, like, one or two sort of half-truths from, like, the Democrats he'd be arguing with or the Democrat he'd be debating. But then it would be, like, 100 or 200 lies from Trump. Literally, Google it. Donald Trump lie stat. So, yeah. Washington Post, New York Times, all of these organizations famously, like recant their misinfo when they post it. They'll rewrite an article, or they'll outright like add an edit, or they will write a whole new one to fix and correct what they have said. Yeah, Trump's false or misleading claims total to 30,573 over 4 years. God damn, that's from 2021, by the way. 30,573 counted verifiable lies over the course of the 4 years that he did his campaign up to 2021. Damn. Yep. Like, it's literally been counted and tracked and, like, statistically broken down how many lies per minute Donald Trump tells, and it's insane.
I am not going to, if you want to hold me to that level, then I get to hold you to that level as well, and all the other media. So I just don't think, it's not accurate to compare it.
I so badly wish we had time to watch the rest of this because she literally can't form a sentence without stumbling over herself. Taylor Lorenz isn't doing a perfect job, but I'd say she's doing a pretty, like, A- job at debating here, while Chaya Raichik, Libs of TikTok, is doing, like, a F- job. So she's Taylor Lorenz is definitely blowing Libs of TikTok the fuck out, especially with all of these stuttering and not being able to think of what she means to say. Simply Taylor Lorenz being more verbose and well-spoken than Libs of TikTok is a big one. Libs of TikTok has no speaking skills outside of tweets. That's another thing that's going to kill her entire flash-in-the-pan existence online. She cannot exist off of Twitter, and her entire success is tied to Twitter. She will be a nobody if somebody better replaces her, A, or B, Twitter stops being successful. Yeah. Man, I wish we had more time to watch this. It would be so goddamn funny, but sadly we've only gotten 15 minutes in, and it's been a whole hour of my commentary, so, what can I be? Or what can I say? I'm just too damn transformative.